this so I don't forget. Yeah, man, it's great to meet you. I love what you're doing out there. So thanks
Hey,
for taking a minute out.
absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's all we can do. Where are you located on the planet?
North Alabama, about 11, 12 miles south of Tennessee, central in the state.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, I'm in the middle of the country. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, nice. Yeah,
So, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we're kind of somewhat in the same quadrant of the
Mhm.
country. So yeah, but again, yeah, no, it's great to meet you, man. I appreciate you taking a minute out. And before we get into your journey in literacy and everything, all the good work you're doing, I want to know. The pandemic 5 years ago was quite a thing, and it really did revolutionize a lot of the ways that we think and do things today. How much of living through that time period has affected what you're doing today, the work you're doing?
Honestly, for me, and I feel like this is something that separates artists from non-artists, is it wasn't really affecting me because I'm an artist, man.
Yeah,
Pandemic shut me off. I'll just work on my art. I'll just create what I need to create. And most of that's done in solitude.
yeah.
So it really wasn't, I mean, the effect came like if I needed to shop, okay, stuff was out and stuff like that. But from a personal perspective, I just had my art to work on the whole time. So it didn't affect me personally outside of like, just stuff I needed communally.
So let's get into the heart and soul of your work that you do
Mhm.
today here in 2025. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids. It's career day, and one of the kids in the back of the room, say they're 10 or 11 years old, they're like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Um, right now, what I'm trying to do is teach people a new kind of literacy, mental and emotional literacy. How do you use your emotions? How do you use your mind? Because nobody ever sits down and says, "Hey, little Johnny, this is how your emotions work," or "Hey, little Susie, this is how your mind works." But we all have a mind and emotions. We just don't explain how the particulars of it. It's abstract. It's like when parents raise us, say, "Hey, make good choices, be smart." But what does that mean? Who breaks it down further than that? That's a platitude, and I appreciate the platitude, but it doesn't do much for me. What I'm trying to do is break it down.
Yeah. The way that I can relate to that somewhat is I remember in college, probably my second or third year there, I took this class called College Reading and Study Skills. And it was all about how to maximize what you're doing and teaching you how your brain absorbs information and applying that to the way that you actually absorb information the best way. Like I tend to be a slower reader. I'm better with audio, but I'm a little bit slower, and I know where my benefits and my weaknesses are. So I really honed in on it, totally revolutionized the way I approached it. And those are simple things like teaching sex education or teaching money management or teaching how relationships can or cannot work or dealing with grief. You know what I'm saying? Those kind of pigeonholed topics. They're cornerstones of our lives for the rest of our lives when we get out of school, but they don't hone in on it. It's just like, oh, we're gonna deal with George Washington and how to do calculus, right?
Well, I appreciate the first thing you said right there is talking about you absorb it. If we were really serious about the way we educate kids, we would say, okay, when we break them down into groups of 30, okay, those 30 are audio learners, put them with audio teacher. Those 30 are practical learners, put them with a practical teacher. Oh, those 30 right there, just find out what method those kids learn by, because we learn by different methods. I was a terrible student, but I'm a great learner. I
Yeah,
just didn't learn by the way the system taught me. So if we actually thought about that, because that's not a hard change either.
yeah.
It's let's just figure out how they learn and teach them in that way, and they would grow from there. So I think we do need to restructure our education system. But going into this too, this is the nuts and bolts. This is the way I see it, and it's a hard. It shouldn't be a hard sell, but it's a hard sell from where it comes from. Every time I talk about it, people will say like, "Well, those are acting exercises. How can acting exercises help me?" But what I'm hearing is like, "Okay, I have a Phillips head screwdriver, and I'm using it to take apart this toy truck. Here, why don't you use it for your real truck?" And it's like, "How can I use that screwdriver for my real truck? You use it for your toy truck." Well, I'm saying these are tools and techniques. This isn't about acting. Take that, throw it away. This is about what we use as material. Like about 100 years ago, this cat named Konstantin Stanislavski came along, revolutionized acting. For the first 2,100 years of the 2,500 years of Western acting, that's what most people think acting is: fake, pretend, representation. Stanislavski made it philosophical. He taught us how to break down a moment and look at it from multiple different ways. And the way I describe it, it's like sonar. If you got a submarine on the ocean, it can't see anything, can it? So it's got to send out a ping. So Stanislavski questions are essentially that ping. So when I walk into a room, ping sends out these 7 questions. It brings back these answers. I'm now in a better position to make choices in that moment that I'm in. So I'm like saying these are tools and techniques that teach us how to be a human being. They teach us how to use real emotions in imaginary circumstances. But the rub is, it's like these are real emotions that we're using. Everybody has them. Why don't we teach them to people? It's like in relationships. Women complain all the time. Oh, men don't have empathy. Oh, we need to raise a new kind of man. Well, these are the damn tools and techniques how to do it. Why don't we do it? Because nobody pays attention to it because it's sitting over there with the theater kids and nobody thinks they're going to have the world changing knowledge. So
Yeah.
it's a crazy place. But like I said, there's rock solid gold here.
Yeah. So take me back to when you were in grade school. What did you want to be when you grew up? What was your ideal life?
Well, I didn't have ideal anything because my journey started when I was 4. When I was 4, my parents took me to a midnight mass, and the concept of eternity, for whatever reason, hit me and it freaked me out. If there's no end, there could be no middle. There's only perpetual beginning, 10,000 eons from now. Even though I didn't know the scope of time, I understood that eventually I would do everything. And what do I do after I do everything with eternity? How do I not go insane with boredom? And boredom freaked me out,
Yeah.
eternal boredom. So I regressed in my mind, and for whatever reason, instinctually started treating like a computer. So I created programs, and I created my two earliest, what I refer to as my suits and bubbles. My suits were just different versions of myself. So anytime I ever met someone, I actively listened. I took everything that I could mentally and emotionally from them and recreated them as myself, a version of me, so I could see the world through their eyes, so I can understand the world as them. My bubbles were essentially the holodeck from the Star Trek universe. It could be anytime, any place, anywhere. So I would take my suits, put them in bubbles, and work out these scenarios. So anytime I entered a situation, instead of just having these 7 questions, I can experience the environment beforehand multiple times in multiple different ways to give me different outcomes so I can make the best choice before I stepped into it in reality. And that's how I grew. So I never had, I guess, a normal upbringing. Every
Yeah.
person I met, I just absorbed more. So I became more. And that's the one thing when I try to tell people that, like, yeah, but which one is you? And it's like, you don't get it, man. It's not which one is me. They're all me because I flushed them out. They're not facades. It's not me trying to represent this version of me. I've actually went through the experiences to become it. And that's what the tools and techniques that I'm talking about do. I just went through a different path, but it's the same ultimate goal. This is about becoming more, not representing more, not putting on a face, a facade, or just a fake mask or something like that. This is about growing who you are mentally and emotionally so you become more formidable as a human being. So it's like you don't feel insecure. When you walk into a room, it's like, oh, what do I do? What's the. No, you just automatically know how to be because you've worked out all the answers inside yourself. You're not lost within yourself. You don't have this gaping hole in yourself because you filled it up with all these little things. You've answered all the questions essentially.
It's interesting. I just listened to a set of interviews with Joseph Campbell about all of these kinds of things that you're bringing up about our concept of time and eternity and how we fit within it and all of that. It's fascinating because I think at the end of the day, the human idea, especially in this country, is to lean back on Christian ideals of this eternal damnation or eternal paradise. Whereas there is a breakdown in all theologies where there's just this idea of this never ending circle of us kind of doing the same thing in a different era. And we all need to look at time as though it's eternity right now. There is an infinite. We are living in infinity right now, and it's right in front of us. And it's like I think sometimes we get clothespined into these antiquitous ideas that are not proven by anything other than just watered down ideas of maybe philosophy.
Well, even so, it's like we talk about Christianity, but whose Christianity is it? Is it just Jesus Christ Christianity or mom, dad, and pastors?
Yeah,
Because that's what we really live by. Because especially in America today, if you look at the Beatitudes, if I ask the average person to teach me the Beatitudes, they'll look at the Beata what? They don't even know them by that name anymore
yeah,
because it's so far removed because the whole thing is buried deep in the Bible. And
yeah,
that's our problem. It's like we don't look for true divinity. We look to fit in. And that's the problem. When you start fitting in, you're fitting in with the wrong crowd. And now you have all these, like just our situation now, we have all these egomaniacs who are essentially sadists. They can't be happy with all the money. They have to know people are hurting as well. That's a terrible place for us to lead our nation, but that's
yeah.
what we've done. So now, in order to come out of that, to me, is we have to grow ourselves because you have to appreciate these billionaires, these corporations, they drop so much money into understanding our behavior, how we think, how we act, our emotionality. Why aren't we spending any time on that in ourselves? If they know well enough to manipulate all of ours, if we actually did the work to grow ourselves, to develop ourselves into this formidable version of ourselves, then all their efforts would be null and void. They couldn't affect you. You would build your immunities to it. It's kind of like that concept of multiple universes, where there's all these different versions of you and all these different universes. What I essentially done is just went to all those universes, pulled them out, and stuck them in my head.
Yeah.
Granted, they're only imaginative, but I know what I would do on those situations. Like, you can put me in any situation at this point in my life, and I know exactly how I would handle it. Not only that, I would know the different versions that I could handle in that situation. So it allows me that choice beforehand, and it happens that quickly. I mean, faster than that. So, because like I said, it's the human mind. I'm not saying it. It's told. It's the human. Our best mind scientists say it's the most powerful supercomputer known to mankind. All I'm really doing is saying we could use these acting tech tools and techniques like Windows 11 or Microsoft or Linux Red Hat. This is the operating system for that supercomputer. These are the tools and techniques that will allow you to interface your mind and emotions in a way you haven't thought of before. And the beautiful thing is that this isn't a get rich scheme or something like that. It's not something that just popped out real quick. This was created by masters of their field, artists who only wanted to develop their craft and make it more perfect. And to find perfect in acting, you always say you got to be simple and truthful. So what they did with that concept was to create the hammers, the chisels, the tools you need to sculpt a human mind, to sculpt human emotions. It doesn't matter if they're doing it for the stage or for real life because we don't have a human mind for entertainment and one for life. It's one and the same. They just made the tools.
Yeah.
What we do with the tools is up to us.
Yeah, that's interesting. How did you get to this point? Take me back to you. Are you originally from New Jersey?
Yes, yeah, I'm a Jersey boy.
Okay,
Um,
so take me back to the beginnings. How do these foundational elements of questioning how our brains are constructed and being an artist and having this thirst for a better philosophy or a better outlook, how did that happen?
well, a lot of it was organic because it wasn't so much where I was from. I mean, little bits and pieces because I drew in from people there. I'm an amalgamation of everywhere I've come into contact with. Yes, I agree with that. But my change happened slowly and over time because I didn't understand what I was doing at the time. I was young. I was just going through it and I made a lot of mistakes. But I would say that one of the key moments was in 2008. I started my acting journey in 2003 after I got out of the Marine Corps. I moved to Alabama when I was 10. So that was like in the mid 80s, somewhere around there, maybe 89. I think I moved to Alabama. But in 2008, I was doing a film called Hunger. And we were shooting a scene. Lyndon Ashby was the actor opposite me, and they were shooting his scene. I was not on camera, so I wasn't in character. But when they yelled cut, Lyndon reached over, shook my hand like I saved his kid from a burning fire. I couldn't understand it. And it took me like 6 weeks to think about it and understand it. But then I finally realized that the reason that he shook my hand was because, yeah, I wasn't in character, but I was present in the moment because of the lifestyle that I'd chosen to live. So it didn't matter that I was Alex the character or not. I was still there giving the work. And the problem most actors have in that situation is when they're on camera and their scene partner isn't giving the work. They're just blah, 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 yada, 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 yada. And it's not enough to give to the other actor. I was giving just because of the nature of who I was. And it was in that moment, I call it my quickening moment, when I realized that all the work I'd been doing in my life and all the work I'd done as an actor were one and the same. You know, there was no difference. And that's when the idea, because I wrote a book about this too, but that's when the idea of the book came for. I started trying to teach it in courses and whatnot like that. But again, it's not my background. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a writer. So I'm having to learn how to do all that. The idea, I mean, I know that front, back, inside, and out. It's just now I have to build all these new parts to myself to get this to work.
So what art swayed you when you were growing up? What really made you want to act and to really have this thirst for art?
Well, that's the thing is that there never was. The acting thing happened on clear accident.
Yeah,
Uh, that happened when I got out of the Marine Corps. Because I mean, I did theater one when I was in freshman in high school, but that was just an elective, and I got kicked out 6 weeks in and put into ROTC.
yeah.
ROTC didn't help send me in the Marine Corps. But when I got out of the Marine Corps in 2003, I got this job at a steakhouse in Huntsville, Alabama. It's not there anymore. It's like a Top Golf there now. But I remember we were rolling silver one evening, and there was a girl. She was going on about her voice lessons and how difficult they were, yada yada. And I was honorary Marine. I just got out, so I started ball breaking. I'm like, come on, voice lessons, really? It's like, let me tell you about some hard stuff. I can tell you about some hard. And then she just snapped back. She's like, I bet you couldn't do 3 weeks of voice lessons, soldier boy. And I was just like taken back by her heat. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'll take you on. So I went and took 6 weeks of voice lessons. But after the first week, I mean, I didn't even remember about it because my voice coach was so good at handling me that he just kind of drew me in. He put me into a chorus. The chorus got me into a play, and it just started rolling. Then I just
Wow.
started, like, within the first 2 years, I had 30 different credits. But I was booking like 80, 90% of my auditions. But the reason was because all the skills I already had inherently built. I didn't have to learn how to be an actor. I'd been learning my whole life the skills. I was just applying them now.
Wow. Who's been your hero? Who's been an inspirational bedrock for you in your life?
People ask me a lot, and it's hard for me to say. And honestly, as I grow older, most of them are fictional because so many of our, it's like they say, don't meet your heroes.
Yeah.
So many heroes fall that I've started leaning toward fictional heroes just because I know they're a lot more solid because someone has to write them bad, you know? It's a choice.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know heroic like or even inspirational anymore because it's like everybody is I don't really see one better than the other because I
Yeah.
see so much great. Because, like I said, to me, every human being is a supercomputer. Like, even if you
Yes.
go to Appalachia and see these backwoods folks and people put them down, I'm like, no, that's a supercomputer. They're not a supercomputer because we as a society failed them. We let them go into a thing and we let them believe this is all they are. So I see inspiration in all people because there's beautiful art everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like the high art world's a great example. It's like when you see these guys who sell the banana tape to the wall, or the dude who just recently sold a 5 by 5 foot invisible sculpture. It's like it's ridiculous how we treat the high art world when we look out in the middle of America and there's just phenomenal artists out there that
Yeah.
just blow my mind. And it's like they're on the same level as Picasso to me, you know? It's just
Yeah.
nobody knows who they are and no one cares and they'll die poor and
Yeah.
unknown. So it's hard to say that because it's like I see it everywhere.
Yeah, you're totally right. There's inspirational forces everywhere. Van Gogh died poor and unknown, basically. I mean, a lot of artists did, and I've read books on how things go viral and like how Matisse just kind of invited friends and then they told other people and how word of mouth happens. And it's weird. It's a mysterious way
Mhm.
as to how people get known. And there's so much nepotism, and we see that in the government right now. It's like there's just so many forces and levels you got to deconstruct, you know?
Yes, yes. But even speaking of deconstruction, going back to this and going back to the art when we're talking about the it factor, it's like how many people can break down the it factor?
Yeah.
All right. Let me just read you off this list
Yeah.
and tell me if you agree or not. Now, this is what I'm saying. If you're going into the it factor, I'm making a list of 5 different things that are teachable. Number one, active listening. Number two, charm. Number three, intensity. Number four, generosity. And number five, poise. I'm saying if you learn those 5 skills, put those 5 skills together, you have the it factor. Because these are skills people don't think about. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. These tools and techniques teach those.
Yeah.
So going into that industry, like poise is having your body do work for you that most people never think about. It's like when people do the red carpet walk, how they practice how they stand beforehand. That's pre-built poise into their body. So when they go in, boom, hit the pose.
Yeah.
So it's like teaching these things to everyday people will change their life. I mean,
Absolutely.
something like that will help anybody flirt. You know, if
Yeah.
you want to flirt, boom, throw your poise in there.
Yeah.
You know, it'll make you
That's
instantly more attractive. So I'm saying these are skills that we could learn that could make us next level human beings. It's just we don't appreciate where they are simply because where they reside.
yeah. So, what is your motivation every day to wake up to do the work that you do? To not only do the work to affect change and affect people, but to also evolve and grow as a human. What is that every day for you?
Well, to me, I've done so much growing as an individual. It's not even that for me. This is the jarhead in me. This is me recognizing a charge because I didn't come up with this idea. This isn't my idea. I tripped over it,
Yeah.
but I recognize its importance. Like I said, I've said it many times. It's like when humanity was given written literature, it changed the world. When humanity was getting mathematical literature, it was mathematical numerical literature, it changed the world. Why wouldn't it change the world if we gave them mental and emotional literature?
Yeah.
And the fact that it's sitting in my hands is enough to say that I can't sit still. I have to get this out. You know, if somebody else would take this from me and seriously give it put its place and give it its merit, I could honestly lay down, die, and be done.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this is simply something that I recognize that is far too important to our species. It's just I'm not the hero this idea needs. I'm the hobo it has. So I'm doing
Yeah.
the best I can with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So, when you look at your life and everything that you've done and accomplished up to this point, evolved into, what has been the biggest risk that you've ever taken?
I mean, it's a hard question for me to say because it's like if people ask me, it's like, what scares you? It's like, I don't, sometimes I'm too dumb to realize I'm taking that risk. You know, sometimes I'm too
Yeah.
dumb to fear because I tell my story, sometimes people are far more impressed about them than I am. Like, I'll take this one example. I get it all the time. It's like when I moved to New York in 2005, stayed there 2007. Right during 2007, beginning of 2007, I wrote the first line to the second play I wrote. Within 5 months, I produced that play on a New York stage, and everybody's like, "How did you do that so fast?" And I'm like, "I didn't know I wasn't able to. You know, I
Right.
didn't know that there was boundaries. I just looked at the next step in front of me, and I took it one step at a time. I never looked at the big scope of things. So it's like I don't always realize what's scary because I'm too focused on the next step that I don't see the monsters around me. You know what I mean? So I don't. I mean, it's gotten me. It hasn't gotten me the financial success, but I've accomplished. Like I would put my life against anybody in the world. You know, and
Yeah.
entertainment wise, when I tell my stories, people listen, and it's like I don't mean it for it. It just happens, and my effect on. This is one other story. Sorry, I don't mean to jump into these too
Oh no,
much.
you're good.
But when I was in New York, and this is like one of those stories that just impressed me. I wasn't ready for it, but it was happening on my birthday. I was just leaving work at the Hard Rock Cafe, and there was this bar we went to, O'Flattery's, and they closed at 2, but they let us come in at 2, and we could stay till 6 a.m. and drink. And my friend Vita found out it was my birthday, and I wasn't making it because I don't make a big deal of my birthday. And she's like, "No, no, that's not happening." And then she pulled everybody, most of them workers at Hard Rock Cafe, like 18 people were all wrapped around me, and she had everybody tell a story about them and me. So I had 18 people telling these stories, and it just blew me away because I didn't realize I had that kind of effect on people because I don't think about it. I'm just there in the moment with you.
Yeah.
But not everybody lives in the moment like that. So when I'm with them, I infect them with the moment they're in.
Yeah.
And it 18 people popped it out at me. I'm like, wow, okay, that's interesting.
That's
And I'm like,
cool.
yeah, and I'm saying this is something we can learn to do.
So let's say you go into a room of everybody that you've worked with or affected with your work, and you walk in and there's a podium and you get up to it, and you can tell them one fun thing about you, whether it's a fun story, just pure fun. What would you tell that room?
You know, it's how I exist in the moment that makes the moment so great. Because when I'm in the moment, it's not just about me. It's everybody in the moment with me. Because
Yeah.
it's it's true teamwork. Not that whole concept of teamwork makes the dream work, corporate America wrecks it. When I
Yeah.
say teamwork, I mean it like in the military. This is my team. They're in the moment with me, but everything I have is yours in this moment because we're living it together. And I don't think we have that kind of community anymore. If we had that kind of community in the world where we shared the moment with each other honestly, simply, and truthfully, we would have a much more vibrant world.
Yeah, we certainly would. So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 18-year-old version of you. You could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've led, the wisdom you've accumulated. What advice would you give your younger self?
I don't know that I want to tell my younger self, to go into what I went into because it is not an easy road.
Yeah.
I mean, there's part of me that's like, bro, no, just go the other way. Go sell out, make that. Because honest to God, if I had the just killer money instinct, if I really cared about money, I have no doubt I'd be rich. It's not the interest in me. And there's part of me that would tell me just go after the money and be happy. Because the road that I went down was because I chose the different road. Because especially, I mean, maybe you're not close enough to it, but I'm in the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
Bible Belt, crazy Christian, but it's not good versus evil. It's
Right.
same versus different. If you're the same, it doesn't matter if you're good or evil. You're good. If you're different, it doesn't matter if you're good or evil. You're evil. And that's what I chose. I chose to be different. So that means I chose to be alone. I chose to not have any support or collaboration in what I'm doing. I just have to fight this fight alone. And I don't know that I want to tell my younger self that, but at the same time, it's like it's what has to happen. If I don't do it, who will? Because I
Yeah.
don't see anybody else lining up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, of everything that you've done up to this point in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Man, I don't know. I've never. It's never been my thing, you know? And
Yeah,
again, people tell me that. It's like my friends tell me I should be a lot prouder of the things that I do. My friend was telling me that last night, Vita, the one I talked about earlier. I just, I don't have that sense anymore because it's just, I've been chewed up and spit out so much. But
yeah,
it's that Marine grit, you know? It's not about pride. I don't need pride. It's
yeah,
about the mission for me, you know? I believe in this idea. So I don't need to be proud. All I need to do is succeed. If I succeed, it's worth it to me. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. I
yeah,
guess it's that militant mentality.
yeah. So you obviously have talked about being in the moment and making a profound impact, like with the 18 people from Hard Rock. Who has been that person for you that made an impact on you, that taught you how to be on your journey, that kind of without them even knowing, they laid a profound impact on you?
I've had a few, not many. I've had a lot of unfortunate betrayals in my life, but there was my friend Vita, definitely one. She's been there numerous times. Who picked me up when I was broken. My friend Eugene, he was my first improv coach, my first acting coach. He gave me a strong foundation. That was in 2003 when we met. But he's always been real solid for me. Those are the two people that start up right there. And like I said, there's other people who have had moments, but again, the betrayal negated, it did more damage than help.
Yeah,
So it's one of those deals. But those two are really solid. And there's a few others, I'm sure. The Wonder Twins, Sean and Sarah, they were the ones who helped me because I couldn't have put on that play in 5 months alone.
yeah,
I had two friends, Sean and Sarah Orban, who were just, if they weren't they carried me through that thing some places,
yeah,
you know. So I definitely had people who helped me here and there. But I've never had like a best friend, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like there's nobody that I can sit there and pick up the phone and 100% rely on right now to show up for me in the moment.
yeah,
So that's, like I said, that's the alone part because I chose to be different.
yeah. So let me ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, that's the thing. Is like that's the difference with me than most people. It's I shift that perception. That's why I'll say that I don't know how to explain it other than being an emotional shape, a spiritual shapeshifter.
Yeah,
I have so many different versions of me at this point, and they're all me. There's just different versions of me, different mental and emotional versions. And in order to grow them, I have to step into them and exist in this world in them. So I just shift in and out of them. So I'm literally an amalgamation of all of these things. You know, I
yeah,
have to step away from them. I'm not any single one of them. Because if I was, I mean, it would cut out all the rest.
yeah, yeah,
So it's a weird place to be and to explain. But I mean, it's given me a lot of gifts. Like, you ever see a Predator movie?
yeah.
You know how we change vision, stuff like that?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
If I have a problem, I have Predator vision. All I have to do is switch suits.
yeah,
And the problem is different. The way I see the problem is different to me every time.
yeah,
So I just click, 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 click until I see the right answers that pop up, or I'll pop up with multiple answers.
yeah.
It's it's a different way of living, and it's hard to
Absolutely.
explain.
Yeah, no, I dig it. So, hey, if anyone wants to reach out, they want to get involved, they want to see your work, they want to get your books, have any questions, what's the best way for them to do that?
A couple different ways. I have one book out. It's All Your Best Selves. This is what it looks like. It's on Amazon right now, so you can check it out on there. Or you can check out my website. It's www.tbcenterprises.com. That's TBC is in Tango Bravo Charlie. I'm posting my videos and stuff on there. Soy Candy is my what do you call it? My social media handles. I'm still learning all. I'm a Gen Xer, man, so
Yeah,
social media is not my jam. I'm picking it up slowly.
yeah,
Like I said, I'm just trying to get this idea out there as best I can.
yeah. I love it. Well, I'm going to shout it from the mountaintops. This was fascinating. Thank you, man. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your passion.
Hey, thank you, Joey. I really appreciate your time and giving me an outlet for this.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. Take care.